Diana, you just had a book signing where I believe you said something about Sam's trousers being distracting. Can you explain?
What I said was, if I never see a close-up of the front of your trousers again, it will be too soon.
Little known facts about Diana Gabaldon and the Outlander book series.
Really, you don't want to know.
Diana Gabaldon hadn't been to Scotland before she released the first book in the Outlander book series in 1991.
Yeah. Occasionally, that's what I'm for. Because I know a whole lot more about 18th century Scotland than any of them do, for good reason. I've spent the last 23 years writing this stuff, whereas they're all pretty new to it. They do a really good job. But every once in a while, I'll read something in a script, and I'll say, well, I see what you're trying to do with this scene, but you can't do it that way because this wouldn't actually have existed in 18th century Scotland. Like the wool walking scene, where Claire falls in with the women and they're mashing the wet wool back and forth. That was originally, as in the script, a scene where she's strolling through a village of cobblestoned houses and so forth, and she gets invited into a house by some woman, and then they are playing bridge and drinking tea, and I said, no. And so I told them what it would be like, and I said, it was really hard scrabble life in the 18th century, especially for a woman. They worked dawn to dark. I said, but I can see you want her to be embraced by this feminine society for a little bit and have the nice break from these raunchy men that she's traveling with. And you could do that by having her help with what chores they would actually be doing. And so I told them specifically about wool walking and the traditional songs. And I said, that's a very intimate kind of thing. And so they promptly went off to the Highland Folk Museum and found reenactors who would do that. It was just fabulous. Yeah.
She was a research professor. She has a PhD in quantitative behavioral ecology and has a MS in marine biology and a BS in zoology. Gabaldon wrote software reviews and technical articles for computer publications as well as popular science articles and Disney comics. She was a professor with an expertise in scientific computation for 12 years.
There's the famous spanking scene that everyone was talking about, and adjusting your expectations about time period. How difficult is that to do when you're writing, going back and forth between time periods and mores at a time?
It's not difficult for me at all. It's sort of difficult for Claire on occasion. I was a research professor. That's why I chose to write historical fiction for my practice book, because I knew how to use the library. So it's just not a problem to slip into the 18th century time frame. I read a lot of stuff that's written by 18th century writers. I understand how they think and what was going on that made them think that way.
Outlander book series has already sold 25 million copies all over the world, being one of the best-selling book series of all time.
Speaking of authors, we have another author story tonight. #1 New York Times best-selling author of the Outlander novels, Diana Gabaldon. She has now sold more than 20 million print copies worldwide. Her novels are packed with historical science fiction, adventure, and romance.
I've known since about the age of 8 that I was supposed to be a writer. That's the age at which I first realized that books were actually written by people. They didn't just spring out of the bookstore shelves like, toilet paper in the grocery. It is a gift, luckily. Yeah, I was born being able to tell stories.
Outlander book series won the Romance Writers of America RITA Award for Best Romance in 1992, Quill Award for Science Fiction Fantasy Horror in 2006, Goodreads Choice Award for Best Romance 2009 and 2014.
Tell us, what was your opinion of how your book was adapted for the screen? How satisfied were you with it, and was there anything left out that you wish they had kept in?
Oh, well, there's always things that are left out that could be kept in. It's always, a creative decision. What can you fit and what's going to fit the flow? But I think that they've done a fabulous adaptation overall. At any given moment, you could always say, well, I wish they'd done this or I wish they'd done that. But if you stand back a little bit and look at it, it's perfect. They've done a really good job, I think.
The Outlander book series have been published in 27 countries and 24 languages so far.
Well, it is, and at the same time, what a good adaptation it is. Because, when I'm writing a novel, I'm God. I can have climaxes and low points any place I want. And they can't really do that because they're limited to 55 minutes at a time. And that 55 minutes has to have its own little story arc. It has to be thematically unified and come down in a satisfying place. Whereas, the book isn't that rhythm at all.
The author will turn into 70 in next January 2022. Hope you enjoy our information video in this Outlander. Watch more videos. Thank you for watching.